My name's Hannah. I'm the Director of Aquatics here at Water Babies. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see lots of faces on the live, so thank you ever so much. Today we're going to be talking to Lee from the RLSS, so I'll ask him to introduce himself in a second when he's got ready. That looks a lot better, Lee. You're running the right way now, so that's great. Do you want to introduce yourself, Lee, and just tell us a little bit about what you are, what you do, and your organisation?
Yeah, sure. Welcome, everybody. I'm Lee Hurd. I'm the Charity Director for the Royal Life Saving Society. We've been around for nearly 130 years now, and in all that time, our main purpose has been to help people enjoy the water safely. We love aquatic activity, but really what we're about is trying to make sure that people have the skills, the ability, and the knowledge to be able to ensure that they go out and enjoy the water and can fundamentally get home at the end of the day.
Great, thank you. And you're definitely one of our key partners that we work with here at Water Babies. We've been working with you guys for a long time. Water safety is a really important part of what we do in Water Babies, and I'm sure you're aware we teach it right from lesson one. We teach little ones how to, if they were to ever fall into water, how to turn around, get themselves back up to the surface, hold on to the side, find a place of safety and climb out. So it's something we're massively passionate about, and it's great to be able to partner with an organisation like yourselves that are kind of shouting that message a lot wider.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same for us. We always want to work with partners that have safety at the forefront, and we always want to work with partners that are really high quality. And for us, it's a delight to be working with somebody like Water Babies that really do put the children and the babies in the water first. They always consider their safety, and they're always trying to find ways to improve that experience for young children.
Yeah, great, thank you. And a lot of people won't know this, but a lot of our all of our teachers are trained in life saving. They all have to be trained in life saving, and we do that through yourselves. So can you tell us a little bit about the training that the teachers do through you?
Yeah, so one of our roles is to ensure that the pool environment is secure and as safe as possible. We train a lot of the lifeguards around the UK, but in sessions such as Water Babies, often there's not much need for a lifeguard because of the environment and the fact that the parents are in the pool with the children. But Water Babies go a step further than that, really, and they want to make sure that their teachers have the ability to be able to set up safe swimming spaces, so that they look at how the kids can enjoy the session, how many numbers should be in the pool. And then they have the skills and the ability to also, should they need to react if there is an issue in the pool, then they're all well trained through one of our qualifications called the National Rescue Award, so that they're able to be the first responders and act quickly to make sure that there isn't a tragedy in the pool. So again, fundamentally, it's all about fun, but safety is always there so that the parents can have peace of mind and enjoy the sessions.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really important part of what we do, and we make sure our teachers have ongoing training, and they redo the qualification every 2 years as well. So it's really important to us that everybody's safe. You know, safety is the #1 feature, so that's great. So Lee, can you tell us a little bit about the support that the RLSS give to families around water safety?
Yeah, of course. First thing first, we try and be as proactive as possible. So again, our motto is about helping people to enjoy the water safely. So for us, it's about how do we, through the various different ways that parents and families might interact with the water, how do we ensure that we get that safety message across? Because the water is fun, but it does come with inherent risks if it's not done in a way where safety is always first. Of course, so we work with parents and all other adult groups, teachers and local communities to make sure as much as possible we can get safety education to children at the earliest possible age. And then we've got various programs that move through into kind of late teens, that we can teach children fundamental and physical skills so that they can be safe in the water, but also that they can react if there's an emergency, so basic rescue skills. The other element of what we do is a little bit more reactive in the fact that we work with a lot of families that unfortunately have lost children and lost loved ones to a drowning incident. We obviously like to make sure that doesn't happen, and education is the most important element of that. But a huge part of our program is also how we work with families, use them to educate other families, but also provide them with the support that they need in what can be fundamentally traumatic and difficult circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. And drowning is sadly a very common cause of accidental death, isn't it, in youngsters?
Yes, it's the third highest cause of accidental death in the UK. And I don't think a lot of people do know that there's around 700 accidental death by drowning in the UK every single year across the UK and Ireland. And again, I don't think many people know how significant the issue necessarily is. And for children especially, it's always a really difficult scenario because fundamentally the adults always feel a tremendous amount of guilt in that scenario, in that they've not been able to respond, react, or keep the environment safe. So it is a significant issue, but it's an issue that can be easily remedied with really basic skills and knowledge.
And how important would you say that it is for families to understand water safety?
I would say it's crucial. Swimming is a huge life-saving skill. It's something that we always advocate for. We want to provide the scenario where every child in the UK can learn how to swim, because if they fall into the water, if they get into difficulty, that is a really important skill. But it does go much wider. That's survival skills and the basic risk assessment skills, and to be able to ensure that people are doing the right thing, not putting themselves at risks, staying away from the water when they're walking. But simple things that families can firstly take responsibility of, but also take the responsibility to educate their own children and other children that they come into contact with. For us, it's about personal responsibility. There's been much in the press about lifeguards not being on beaches over the summer this year. There's only been a significant reduced service. But lifeguards, in any case, can only be in certain environments at certain times. They are normally seasonal and they don't operate past 6 p.m. at most beaches. So for us, if parents take responsibility of that environment, take responsibility of the education and the safety of their own children as they grow up, then 9 times out of 10 for us, I think that most accidents can be remedied in that way. So we really do advocate that parents take the water seriously, as I'm sure many do, but they do fundamentally know how to react in an emergency and know how to stay safe.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really important at beaches, isn't it? That I know the beach near where I live, there's lots of currents that don't look like they're particularly dangerous, but actually they are. So it's understanding the area that you're going to and understanding where it is safe to swim and where not.
Yeah. I mean, we're really cautious. We don't want to be the fun police and tell people not to go to the beach and not enjoy the water. But you're right. There's a huge amount of risk, especially with coastal water, that if people aren't used to swimming there or used to the tides, the currents, and the conditions, then we tend to see quite a lot of people getting into really basic difficulty in those circumstances. It isn't typically the people that live in coastal towns or live in a certain area because they are aware of the various risks. It's people that are traveling there for the day or potentially going on a holiday. So it's so crucial that they do take time to speak to the lifeguards, research the local area, speak to locals, because they're the ones that will be able to tell you where's safe to swim, and also where to get some help if you need it.
And when we were chatting the other day, you were saying about inflatables being a particular danger for people going to the beach.
Yeah, we work really closely with the RLSS, one of our key partners, and they're obviously really concerned this year for the safety of the public as we are. And one of their key messages this year is to transport families not to take inflatables to the beach. Again, it's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to take to the beach. It's loads of fun. But there are a huge amount of interventions by lifeguards at beaches every year where children are sitting in inflatables and they start to fundamentally drift out to sea. So it's really important that with a reduced lifeguard service, that as many families as possible, please don't take those inflatables to the beach, because it can be really challenging once the wind catches it with offshore winds to get children back in.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with the weather being amazing over the last few weeks and people kind of been able to be a little bit, go out a little bit more than they have done. People are visiting rivers and lakes as well. Have you got any tips for people who maybe want to go and do that?
Yeah, I mean, we want people to go to places where there's lifeguards. Supervision is really key. If you are going into cold open water to take a dip, really that is coming with some risks, especially because of the cold water. I think it's challenging in that I think familiarity breeds contempt a little bit, in that we tend to see that there's these local quarries, lakes, potentially river spots where families have swum for generations, and just because there's never been an incident, it doesn't mean that in the future that there won't be. And normally the issue is actually the temperature of the water. We're all really blessed in the UK and across Ireland that we get to swim and learn to swim in such great environments that are heated and well supervised. But the thing to really remember is those skills don't really translate once you get into cold open water, which is normally at least 50% colder than we're used to swimming in. Our muscles, our breathing, everything is normally affected. So if people are going to enjoy the water and fancy taking a dip, our advice would be that they try and stay away from it. But if they do go in, that they stay really shallow, stay close to the shore, and that somebody is there watching them, so that there is an issue that they can raise the alarm or get some help in some way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all the pools that we swim in are at least 30 degrees, and open water's probably half that if you're lucky. And it's a massive difference, isn't it, for people to be aware of how that affects the body, because it's not just it's a little bit chilly. That literally affects your body in every way, and it makes it really hard to breathe in a lot of cases.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it tends to not get above 15 degrees. If you head up into Scotland, it's normally not much above 10. And they can be, there's a huge growth in open water swimming, and it's something that we love to support. But it has to be done in the right way with people who are acclimatized to the water. And I think one of the common issues is that because the air temperature is warmer, people think that it's okay to swim and the water temperature will be warmer, but some of the bigger bodies of water just simply don't heat up over the summer months, even with a prolonged heat spell.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very involved in open water swimming myself outside of work, and the amount of safety procedures we have to go to run any events, and then you see people kind of just jumping into lakes and things, and it's it's quite scary. So I think it's really important for people to be aware of that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So with the weather being so amazing over the last few weeks, there seems to be a rise in the amount of paddling pools in gardens. Have you got any top tips for parents who might want to have a paddling pool in their garden, how to maintain it safely?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've got a 2 on myself, and we've got some large paddling pool that I've put a slide next to that she's got kind of jungle gym in the garden in. And we've had a great couple of weeks. She's absolutely loved it. And it's great for a great opportunity when children can't get into the pool to get them into the water and still splashing around and getting used to the water. So it's a great thing to do. But again, it does come with some risks. Normally, paddling pool providers are great at providing advice on the side of paddling pools. So I encourage parents to read that and take note. Supervision is obviously key. I think we can, again, get a little bit familiar with our gardens and rush off and do little jobs. And we have seen circumstances before, unfortunately, when children have been left in the pool, especially when other stuff is getting thrown in the pool, such as balls and etc. Sometimes it's difficult to be able to see a child if you haven't got full eyes on them all the time. And things like flotation devices that young babies can be put in are also quite common. And again, they should really always be in arm's length. Just because they potentially look really stable and not tipped over before doesn't mean that the baby might not lean forward in the future. And if you haven't got close eyes on them, it can turn into a tragic incident really quickly. In terms of managing, the pool at the end of the day, and as you're filling it up again, supervision is key. It can be a bit of a pain, but what we would say to everybody is that the best thing to do with paddling pools is to empty them after use. It's the most safest thing to do. If you are going to leave the water, if you've got a large pool and it's taking you 8 hours to fill up, then unless you've got a secure covering that's probably come with the pool, again, we suggest not leaving the water in when it's not supervised or overnight. It's so easy for children to just head off out of your watching eye and fall into the water. But we've seen instances where people have used black bin bags to try and heat pools up quickly or use them as covers. They're extremely dangerous if they're not secured. So again, if there's not a manufacturer's covering that comes with it, we suggest that people don't use those type of makeshift devices, because if a child just lean forward in them, it's probably not secure enough to stop them falling in.
It'd be very easy to disappear under that as well, wouldn't it, and not be seen if they're under a black bag. So it certainly makes me cringe every time I see it on social media.
It's impossible if the child, and it does take seconds for a child to get into difficulty in those scenarios. So it could be really fatal if they do go under that. So I think it's really important for parents not to use those types of devices. And that advice goes to any type of water in the garden. If there's any standing water in ponds, even things like water pots and buckets, all that it takes for somebody to unfortunately drown is for the water to cover their nose and mouth and suffocate. So it takes literally centimeters of water. So if there's buckets, water butts, please make sure that they're covered up and accessible. Any ponds in the garden, make sure that there's secure fencing. Self-locking gates are really crucial to purchase if you do have a pond in the garden, and fences, so that if the gate's if the gate shuts behind you, then you know that the child's not in there. If it doesn't shut properly, for instance, and again, children can find a way, as they always do, to sneak into places.
Definitely. And I think one of the dangers of being around things like paddling pools is the old mobile phone, isn't it? People get easily distracted by being on their phone and then maybe don't watch what's going on. The same at the beach, I think, isn't it? We see it a lot. How important do you think it is for people to kind of put the phone down and watch what's going on?
Yeah, isn't it? It's a huge part of our lives now, isn't it? And you know, it seems like we're giving really common sense advice, and maybe I suppose teach people to soak eggs. But as we are both so close to this issue, we do know that it happens. So mobile phones, any type of electronic device, they have become a part of our lives, and they can be so distracting. So again, our advice would just be when children are around water, the mobile phones get left in the house far away, and this includes being in the bath as well. Again, just that phrase, familiarity breeds, because you've been on your phone before and the children might have been in the bath and they've been okay. It doesn't mean that something might not happen that needs your attention. So I would always say, always eyes on and always pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So crucial, isn't it? I think it's, we don't want to scare people off going in the water. We want lots of people to enjoy the water, but I think it's just about doing it safely and being aware that everything that could go wrong. I think teaching little ones to learn to swim is absolutely crucial, for their safety, to make sure they are comfortable around water. So we'd never say avoid water, but just access it in a safe manner, making sure it's nice and controlled.
Yeah, and that's why our motto is enjoy the water safely. We want people to get out, enjoy the water, learn to swim, but always just have that in the back of your mind about what could go wrong. Is there anything I can do to make this situation even safer than it is?
Yeah, for sure. Great. Lee, you've got some online resources that families can access. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so this week, starting on the 12th, it's Drowning Prevention Week. We have a campaign week every single year that focuses just before the crucial period as the weather warms up, although we've already had a fantastic May. But yeah, typically as children are heading off into the summer to enjoy their summer holidays, we do whatever we can to get a message across. Normally, we're really blessed with the fact that organisations such as water babies, pool operators, schools, they take a big hand in educating children pre-summer and in swimming lessons. Obviously, with the environment around us at the moment, we've not been able to do that this year. So what we've done instead is create digital resources for the campaign week, so that parents can take their children through online education, gives them really basic understanding of what risk could be associated with the water, but how in a fun way they can then educate themselves so that they can do the right things, whether it be to prepare to go to the water or whether it be in an emergency situation. So we've created this year packages for 5 to 10-year-olds, and we've got a package for anybody above 10 years old. That package is great for a family to sit down, especially if you've got older children. The worrying thing for us is that around 80% of the individuals that do lose their life each year are males. There's inherent risk-taking behaviour in males. So again, for parents to access those online lessons as early as possible to make sure that water safety and understanding risks around water is almost a habit of theirs is really crucial, because as they get older, as they tend to move away from the watchful eye of parents and take more risks, we know that if children have that level of understanding and level of ability to enjoy the water safety, then hopefully that they won't take risks, and hopefully if there are any risks involved and they see somebody in the water, then they take the correct emergency action. So all that's available through our website, and we'll be pushing various different messages out and tips and advice throughout the week, so the 12th to the 19th. So I encourage anybody that if they've not followed us or Water Babies on various channels to follow them, because over the next week we'll be pushing out some really crucial life-saving advice.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be sharing that across all of our socials as well, and I think we'll make it available on our website for people to access as well, because it's just so important. You mentioned about taking emergency action. What kind of advice would you give people if they saw somebody in trouble in the water? What would you say to do in that situation?
I think the biggest and the most important piece of advice is that if anybody's in trouble in the water, the last thing we want is for another person to be in trouble. So rescues shouldn't be performed from in the water. Please stay on the edge, because there's normally a reason that person's got into difficulty, especially at coastal locations and in things like rivers where tides play tides and currents play such an important role. So what we say to people is, get help, get the emergency services. Part of the online learning is about how you perform a safe land-based rescue. So there's various different life-saving equipment that you might find around waterways. So we teach people how to use that. And there's other things you can do, such as to perform a reach rescue, which is you can use clothing, everyday
I think we've lost
items, even thick, if you can find one, to lie down on the side of the water and be able to pull somebody in if they're close enough. These are really basic tools which put the safety of the individual and the rescue first.
I think we've lost Lee. Are you there, Lee?
I am, yes.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Apologies.
You cracked up a little bit. Do you want to just say that last bit again? I don't know if it's just for me, but you seem to kind of disappear for a little bit then.
Yeah, of course. So I think the best thing to do is the online learning teaches people these safe land-based rescues. So calling 999, staying on the edge, learning how to throw public rescue equipment, which is all around the water. The online learning teaches people how to do that. And community rescue is so important. Normally, if somebody is in a drowning incident, it's really challenging for the emergency services to get there in time. So that having that understanding of how to perform community rescue and keep yourself safe is really, really important.
Great. Okay. Lovely. Thank you. I'll just check the stream down there, see if we've got any questions coming through. But if anybody does have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments below. Emma Ibby's just said, I was amazed to see my little one hold on in her water babies lessons. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great skill that we teach. To be able to hold on to the side, it gets them to a safe point really early on, and it's something they can practice even in supermarkets, in trolleys and things like that. But it's a really, really important thing we do. So thank you for that, Emma. If there's any more questions, please do pop them in the comments, and we'll try and answer them as we go along. But thank you, Lee. That's been really, really useful. Is there anything else you want to kind of talk about or make people aware of?
No, I don't think so. I think that your message is great, always is. Learn to swim, keep the children safe, keep an eye on them. These are really basic and fundamental things that I think if people are aware of, means that they can keep enjoying the water, they can do more amazing things involving the water, but just always have safety first. Yeah,
definitely, absolutely. We want everybody to enjoy the water as much as we do, I think, don't we? Which would be great. But Lee, thank you ever so much for joining us today. It's been really great to hear some of your top tips. And as we said, we'll share your resources on our website and on our social channels. So if people do want to access your resources, they'll be able to do so. And we'll definitely encourage them to do that, because I think it's really important that families are aware of water safety and get to enjoy the water safety. So thank you very much for that. Everyone, please make sure that you check out our website. We've got another session on tomorrow. I think we've got a midwife from Tommy's talking to us tomorrow about some kind of mental health issues. So please feel free to check out that. And then we're running through with live sessions until the end of the week. So thank you ever so much for everybody to join us, and hopefully we'll see lots of you again tomorrow. And once again, thank you, Lee, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks, everyone. Bye.